Welcome to the Next Business Success podcast of PwC. Today we're talking about investing beyond borders, and with me is a partner at PwC, Jennifer Chetty-Feinberg. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you, Francis. I'm really looking forward to discussing this really important topic with you. You know, in this environment of increasing globalization and interconnectedness between countries, South African corporates are increasingly looking for opportunities to invest outside the borders of our country. And while this can bring with it, really great opportunities for unlocking growth and accessing new resources and consumers, it also brings with it a number of complexities that need to be navigated very carefully.
So let's talk about the strategic alignment. Why do companies want to? I know that sometimes they want to expand their market or broader supplier base, new technologies. Why do you think people invest across border?
Well, I think, it was in my blurb in the beginning, it's mostly related to unlocking growth opportunities outside of the country. And South African corporates have a lot to offer in terms of, the ability to navigate complexities that we face here. And so I think the why is very much linked to the aspirations of a business to grow, both locally but globally, and to access new markets, new people, new talent, new ideas, new consumers, new products. It's very important that a company understands what's the reason for the market entry, but also the method that it chooses to enter. Does it want to JV with a strong local player, for instance, or does it want to buy an existing player in the local market? So the reason and the why is obviously the most important thing.
So ultimately, it comes back to the pestle analysis and
Yes.
looking at the politics and the economics of the environment. What would you say the pitfalls are that people can fall into?
So when looking at a new market, besides the why, I guess it goes without saying that legal and regulatory concerns are key. Understanding the regulations and the legal framework in a target market is very important for a company because they need to comply not just with South African regulations, but also with the regulations and laws in the country of their choice. I guess on the political front, the risks there are a assessment needs to be made of political risks in terms of expropriation, civil unrest, etc. And then on the economic side, when you enter into a new market, it's currency risk. So it's what is the exchange rate volatility in that market? What are the economic climate like in terms of GDP growth? And most importantly, I'd say, what is the interest rate inflationary position in the country? You see a lot of companies, you know, surprised when they enter into a market to look at those factors and to see how it's impacting their business investment.
And then there's also the unwritten rules of the game. You can download another country's Companies Act, but the unwritten rules is a bit more complex and is often driven by culture and the social and socio-economic conditions in the country.
Yeah.
So companies who want to invest in other countries actually have to be aware of what the unwritten rules are.
Totally. I think this is the most underrated aspect of investment thesis. When you present an investment thesis to the board, cultural and social considerations are not top of the agenda, and yet they can make or break a foreign investment. Cultural nuances and norms in a market are very important to ensure the success of your relationships with your key stakeholders in that market. And by stakeholders, I mean not just your customers, your employees, the regulators, your suppliers. And so understanding the cultural nuances and the social etiquette in that market is very important, but also then being able to navigate those with sensitivity and with a circumspection and humility as a company is extremely important, and it buys you a lot of goodwill, and it ensures that your investment is a success.
But ultimately, everything comes down to money.
Yes.
So, and that is a tricky area if you think just the havoc that the exchange rate can play
100%.
on an investment and on supply in the other country and so
Yeah.
on. How do people navigate that?
So, the question is always whether or not to lock in currency exchanges and take forward cover, whether to enter into hedges. And those are very company specific decisions. There may be many arguments for doing forward contracts on a rolling basis and many arguments against that, depending on who you speak to in the company. But most companies have internal policies on this. And so they're guided by the policy in terms of how to navigate currency fluctuations. But more importantly than just the currency fluctuations in a market, I think it would be the exchange control. South Africa ourselves have exchange control here, and the Reserve Bank administers it. But every country has its own sort of rules and laws and regulations about how you externalize funds and how funds can be invested in the country. And so those are very important to understand in order to ensure that you do get a return on your investment and your funds are not trapped in a particular country, and that your goal in investing in the country is actually long-term commitment to the country. I think it's important for the regulators to sense that kind of commitment from a business.
So if we talk about operational risks, which is my pet topic,
Yes.
obviously you have to see that the right technology is available, the right labor is available, and especially your supply chain. Are there suppliers in the country and so forth?
Yeah, 100%. So in addition to that, as a corporate finance person, we would look at the business plan and how the business plan sets out with deep data insights the ability to track performance of the business, the new business against the business plan, because a lot of times this is not done. There's no sort of monitoring of performance against a business plan. And so a lot of value gets destroyed post an investment into a market because it's not really measured. And so the importance of getting that data, not just on the operations, which is your forte, but also, in terms of finance, market, competitive landscape. What is the company's position going to be in that market? Who are the competitors? What is its strength in the market vis-a-vis its suppliers and its consumers? What are the logistic constraints? What will be the potential, troubleshooting what the potential issues will be in logistics in terms of supply, getting your product to market, but equally getting your raw materials to the operation. Those are all critical in evaluating your business plan and then tracking that performance with time to see what actual, your return on investment can be very different on a spreadsheet than it is in reality after you evaluate it post-investment.
So it's obvious that there are many opportunities, but it has to be taken up with meticulous planning and sound decision making. But PwC, and especially the corporate finance department that you're working in, helps with that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that what we like to do is as much homework as we can, as much helping that we can do for a company before it gets involved in a decision, whether it does a JV in a market or whether it does a outright acquisition. We have long-term longevity in the market, and we'd like to see success. And so, being able to work with an advisor who navigates and has multifaceted teams in the same firm actually that can assist with each of these complexities, whether it's legal, whether it's tax, whether it's regulatory, or whether it's operations. That's really, really important and critical in order to ensure that the investment is a success.
Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing all your great insights and your years and years of experience in this field. So if you consider to investing cross-border, please reach out to Jen and her team. They are phenomenal at this. Thanks for watching the Investment Across Borders podcast. Watch out for the next one, which will be on risk management. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frances.